to the eliminated tiers, and the X's mean you have been officially eliminated. So, Panthers, Saints, Cowboys, Bears, mathematically alive, but they were eliminated by the committee weeks and weeks ago. No new eliminations by the committee this week because the only team facing elimination, Cincinnati, found a way to win that game. So let's get to the 21 teams remaining on the tiers, 2 facing elimination. Cincinnati stays there. Because Cincinnati, by the way, is going to be on the facing elimination tier probably the rest of the way. And San Francisco, sadly, even after a win because of how the division shaking up, falls to facing elimination tiers. It's almost like those two teams have not been the same since losing heartbreaking playoff games to the Kansas City Chiefs. Next, going backwards, I think these are 2 of Wild's favorite teams. Nobody is more invested in the Falcons quarterback situation than KW.
It's interesting.
No, nobody is. I'm telling you right now, UW alums, members of the Cousins family, nobody cares more. And then the Cardinals, who Wild's once upon a time a Super Bowl team, flirted with one another once again. Early this year, it was looking like, oh, just a few weeks ago, it was all good, not so much anymore. Hanging on by a thread, Miami and the Colts. Listen, they both need Denver to fall apart. The Colts, I suppose, could get in the back door through winning the division if Houston totally collapses, but it's unlikely. Miami could be a potentially tough round 1 playoff team if they get there, because it will mean, Brew, I know every time I say it, you squint your eyebrows, but it will mean
they play a good team.
Right, but it would mean they, down the stretch, beat good teams and won in the cold. So if they get in, they would have exercised some of those demons. Okay. Building with your rookie quarterbacks. Listen, going to be playoff teams, going to be above 500. You're not a contender, but you're good, and that's a hell of a first year. What's that? So you're 5 for Justin Herbert? Oh, you'd assume he had accomplished a bit more than that, but man, that arm talent. Next! I mean, listen, they're all in the exact same spot. The Chargers have been building it for 5 years.
Fair.
They're all sitting there with 8.
You know what's so funny? I gotta pause this real fast because I made a specific Chargers video with Nick Wright, and you guys said to me that I was overreacting about him, you know, because I was defending Justin Herbert, and they said he gave him his flowers. He respects Justin Herbert. He says that Justin Herbert's a top quarterback. Really? Then what is that comment there? What is that comment there? Yeah, exactly.
8 wins. The Broncos and Washington got it done immediately. Sneaky good. Listen, despite these 2 teams being quarterbacked by Brew's 2 whipping boys, it used to just be Baker,
yeah,
and then Brew finally laid down his sword at Baker just so he could plunge it into Cheeto's back. They're good. They win. They're frisky. They're well coached. They have decent defenses. They have exciting offenses. They have underrated, forgotten quarterbacks who are proving their worth game after game. And I think these are legitimately good teams. As opposed to these 2 teams, which are good, but obviously flawed. Now, I understand that the rest of football media has had this amazing, like the Men in Black neuralizer about what you thought of these teams before the bye week because of the bye week. You know, a week ago, we were like, oh man, Baltimore's lost 2 of 3. Houston can't protect. CJ is going to get killed. Then they don't play a game, and I got to listen to Danny on Breakfast Ball be like, eye test. Baltimore's the 5th best team in football. They're better than Pittsburgh. Coach still holding on hope that CJ Stroud and the Texans can turn it around. Like, they are good teams that are obviously flawed. The Texans' offensive line is not good enough. The Ravens' defense is not good enough. We know that. They've lost 2 of 3. Yep. It's not. That's what I'm saying. Everyone's like, oh, they're turning a corner.
The kicker.
The kicker 1 week. So listen, the Ravens will be fine as long as the defense doesn't fall apart, the kicker doesn't fall apart, and Lamar gets tricked into thinking it's not a playoff game. Next. Don't want to see in round 1. One of Brew's favorites and one of my favorites. Hard to see 3 playoff wins, but can beat anyone in the conference. Like, it does not matter if either of these teams gets Detroit or Minnesota or Philly in round 1. Either of these teams can win that game. I don't know if either of these teams can then win the next game and the game after. But if you are an NFC playoff team, you'd much rather see on the other side of your bracket one of those teams on the sneaky good line, Tampa or Seattle, than you would like to see Green Bay or the Rams in round 1. Excellent teams, wrong MVPs. Obviously, the MVPs of these two teams, if you could do this, are the coaches in Kevin O'Connell and Mike Tomlin. Since you can't do it, crazy idea, let's give it to their best players, Justin Jefferson and TJ Watt, as opposed to you guys trying to sell me this Sam Darnold snake oil and Wilds being a Russell Wilson MVP truther, which I didn't know existed. Where's Justin Jefferson and TJ Watt on your stupid
Justin
pyramid,
Jefferson missed
Chief?
some games too.
He didn't miss 6.
Well, he missed 3.
Exactly. Next, Ghosts of Christmas Past. For the Eagles, it's literally last Christmas in the supernatural fun.
True.
And the way that season ended and the team turmoil and what's wrong, and you just fear that's coming back. For the Bills, it's less calendar related and more clock related. Game management by the head coach. Whether it's 13 seconds, 12 men on a field goal block, 9 men on a pump block, quarterback sneaking with 3 timeouts, passing from your own goal line against Houston with 30 seconds left. A lot of details seem to be falling through the cracks that we have seen before from this otherwise excellent team with obviously a great quarterback. Guys, we don't have one, but get ready to hang the banner, because I'm ready to say this title is locked up. And I've been told it's the most important title in the NFL. Point differential champs. Oh my God, the point differential. Oh, have you ever seen a team put it on Mac Jones and the Jags the way these Lions can? Oh my goodness. The old BCS computers would love this Lions team. Look at the margin of victory. Listen, they're an awesome team, and when they blow you out, they blow you out. Now, the last couple games have actually been down to a field goal, but it doesn't matter. They burned our trust by being the Lions for 70 years. And then, of course, at the top of the tiers, back where they belong, the actual champs.
Yeah, you know what's funny? He makes fun of the Lions and talks about hanging a banner, but yet you have the Kansas City Chiefs. He hung a banner for beating the Chargers, who he thinks is not even a top team. And that Chargers team wasn't even healthy, and they didn't even have their main offensive weapon, and they obviously just really don't have many offensive weapons at all. So you want to talk about dropping banners for absurd reasons? How about when you beat the Chargers, dropping a banner, or beating the Broncos, who again he doesn't think is a good team? The Chargers, he dropped a banner when the Chiefs beat the Falcons, when they beat the Bengals, the 49ers, like all these bad teams, he's dropping banners left and right. So if you want to make fun of teams dropping banners, I think you should do that then for yourself and the Kansas City Chiefs. But yeah, listen, the way how I'm looking at this right now is I'm putting the Chiefs, the Lions, the Eagles, the Bills, the Vikings, and the Steelers all in the same tier, all in the same basket. Because I'm either love their roster or like their team good enough, but really, believe in the coaching staff, whatever. I mean, Sam Darnold, he called it snake oil. I mean, like that's just, it's either a pumpkin, snake oil, whatever. I mean, like it's just the lack of respect for the Minnesota Vikings is just insanity to me. Truly, truly insanity to me. And also the lack in the belief of what the Steelers can do. And again, it's going to be frustrating because the Steelers have some really tough games ahead, and if they lose to, say, the Eagles or the Ravens or the Chiefs, it's going to be used as, see, they're not good. And it's like, okay, so them losing to a really good team makes them not good, but the Chiefs beating a team that you think is not a good team makes them good. Like, make it make sense, because I can't. Seriously, make it make sense. Because then he made fun of the Lions needing some last-minute field goals against the Bears or the last couple teams like the Packers. And yet, where are the Panthers up there? I don't see the Panthers. Where are the Raiders up there? I don't see the Raiders. The Chiefs needed last-minute heroics against teams that aren't even on here anymore. Let's be consistent. Let's be consistent. So that's why I got all those teams that I just listed in that basket that I think are all, to me, I keep saying it's just the any given Sunday. I have no idea. I think these are all great teams that all have the potential to really do some damage. Then I have the Packers. I have the Packers, the Rams, and the Ravens in that next basket, in that next tier, because those are all teams, I'll just label it as like dangerous, but are your eyes closed or open? It's like these teams can either, I think, can really do some damage. And also, I really do believe that they could win. And I do believe that they could win multiple playoff games. I'm not putting this cap of like it's hard to see them win another playoff game or something. Like, I don't put a cap on that. It's just that these teams really scare me. And I think like they can just go off, especially because of what they can do offensively. And it's just like, I just don't know if they'll be able to put it all together when it's time to do it. I just don't know. But again, when he says no one wants to see them round one, who wants to see the Ravens round one? I don't want to see you want to see Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry? Good. Then I hope the Chiefs get the Ravens round one then. Like, I'd love to see that round one. Bring it on. Let's go. The Texans, they're a question mark to me because I do want to see what they look like out of this bye. I do want to see if they can get some momentum back now that they're going to be a little bit healthier. I'm curious to see what Bobby Slowick can do with the Texans offensively and see if they can kind of regain some momentum, or if they are just a flawed team this year and they can't get over it. I honestly don't know. I really, really don't. I'm elevating. I'll keep the Seahawks there, but I'm going to bring up the Chargers, the Commanders, and the Broncos. I'm going to bring down the Buccaneers. I know I'm just a huge Buccaneers hater, but I'm going to bring them down mainly because I think they're feisty. I do think that they're a feisty team, and I think they have some excitement. And like I've said repeatedly, Baker Mayfield has definitely really, really impressed me with what he's been able to do. But I think the Buccaneers, because of some of their style of play, makes them appear to be a little bit better than they really are, kind of similarly to a degree with the Seahawks. And I just trust the coaching and the culture and the organization and the calmness and the steadiness of the Broncos, Commanders, and Chargers over the Buccaneers in that given moment. Even if I think that the Buccaneers could have maybe a little bit more firepower, especially like offensively, against, say, the Chargers, I'm just trusting Harbaugh and Herbert. I'm trusting Jaden Daniels and Cliff Kingsbury and Dan Quinn's defense. I'm trusting Sean Payne, Bo Nix, and the Broncos defense. Like, that's kind of where my mind's going with it. And in terms of hanging on a thread, the Colts and the Dolphins, yeah, I think the Dolphins could have legitimately been a playoff team if Tua played this whole time. I mean, Tua has been playing unbelievable. He's been playing like a top quarterback. It just seems like it's probably just, the water's a little too deep for them to kind of get out from under it. They do need these other teams to completely collapse, which is always possible, but it just seems unlikely at this point. And same thing with the Colts. I just think they're just way too inconsistent at the quarterback. And, again, get Shane Steichen a quarterback that's not this massive work in progress, and you will be very quickly a top team in the NFL, a relevant team. Look how Harbaugh made Herbert and the Chargers immediate. They now have a 90% chance to make the playoffs. Okay? And they were a mess, an absolute mess. It's the reverse kind of situation with the Colts. They got the coach. They just need the quarterback. And I'm not saying 100% sell your stock on AR. I'm not saying that either. It's just he obviously hasn't been what you need. He is really young, and you can make the argument he's still a work in progress and all that. Excuse me, sneeze on the truth. But I just think if there's the possibility of you getting just someone who's less of a work in progress, you would have quicker success. As we saw what he did with Minshew last year. Like, that's the thing. And yeah, going backwards, Falcons and the Cardinals. I think that's fair. Both these teams should be better than what they're doing. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals, like I keep kind of going back and forth with them. And same thing with the Falcons. The Falcons, I would think, should be significantly better than what they are. It's really kind of hard to make sense because I think there's moments when Kirk Cousins looks fine and actually looks really great and makes you can see why they paid him the money, and you can see his veteran leadership and understanding of how to play football, of how to be a quarterback that really matters, and how he can work within the pocket and be a playmaker within the pocket. And then he goes off and makes just a awful throw, and it's hard for me to really understand how are both of these things happening? And it seems like there's two things that are competing with Kirk Cousins. It really is on one side of the coin, kind of him actually again showing his true playmaking abilities within the pocket, and again him being an old veteran of just understanding where to go with the ball, right? Going through his progressions, when to check down, when to shake that off and go for the bigger play. Like he has that down perfectly, makes a beautiful throw down the field. And then he makes the throw where you're just like, I wouldn't have even made that throw. And I can't honestly wrap my head around it. Like I'm still kind of trying to grasp with it, which is why obviously there's all these calls for Penix, and again, the only people that will know if that's the right move or not are the ones that are actually in practice watching and seeing what Penix is doing in the first place. And yeah, the 49ers and the Bengals facing elimination, that obviously makes total sense. I think both these teams, mainly the 49ers, just everything with their injuries just became too much for them to overcome. And even when they're players that aren't injured, they're just older. Debo is not the same. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey, even when he was back and playing, he clearly still wasn't 100% and ready to go. Obviously now he's injured and is gone for the rest of the season. And the Bengals, the Bengals and what Joe Burrow has done offensively, and Jamar Chase for that matter, will just be probably one of the greatest examples ever of a team, of a franchise failing their quarterback. I mean, Joe Burrow is an all-time great quarterback. What he can do from a talent, what he can do from a talent perspective, and having Jamar Chase, and it's just like, could you imagine if they actually just supported this team, where the Bengals would be? The Bengals should be a top team in the NFL. Okay, we should be talking about them being like, a legitimate like Super Bowl contender, and we know Nick thinks that as well to a degree. And Nick's like actually kind of grateful that the Bengals are not really there, because he is actually, it seems to me that he's more afraid of Joe Burrow than any other quarterback in the NFL. At least that's my read on it. He knows what Joe Burrow can do, and so it's just a failure of Cincinnati, quite frankly. And to waste another year with this is if you're a Bengals fan, I don't know how you I don't know how you wrap your head around it and don't just just want to give up, honestly. Seriously, like there's certain moments in sports where sometimes you really just look in the mirror and you're like, why do I do this? Why do I watch these games? Why am I a fan? Why do I care? And sometimes it's when there's a really bad referee call and you're just like, I have no power over this. That, like, how did you miss that face mask? Like, and now my team just lost because of it, and you're just like, why do I care? If something like that can happen, that's clearly, blatantly, 100% undisputably wrong. Like, why do I sign myself up for this? And then now when you have a quarterback as great as Joe Burrow, and you actually have some weapons like Jamar Chase and something like that, and then they make just awful decisions, moving on from a running back, not being able to take care of the O-line, having an awful defense, and you're just like, what am I doing? Why do I even care anymore? And it's just like, it's got to be tough. It's got to be tough. But yeah, those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Nick's tiers headed into week 15? I can't believe it's week 15 and we got, Christmas ornaments up here. Pretty wild stuff. Feels like it was just yesterday that it was August and we were all making guesses about what the season was going to look like. But let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.